Hey guys, hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Freedom Fanatics. This week I'm joined by Chris and Alex, who are part of our fan team here. And later we'll be joining Bali for a segment of burning questions. But for now, before we get started, don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok platforms. Basically, wherever you are, that is where Fan is operating and busy spreading our ideas around freedom. And while now we can actually get into this week's episode, and the first thing that we're going to be discussing is events that occurred over this past weekend, where we saw multiple mass shootings occurring in townships in South Africa. And what has been reported so far is that there has been multiple deaths in, and specifically 15 deaths have been reported in one Soweto tavern. And currently, there is still a lot of speculation surrounding why these events occurred, whether it was gang related, whether it was mobs, entering these taverns and just shooting at people for no apparent reason as of yet. But obviously, we're still waiting for more information regarding this issue from our honorable police minister, Becky Chele. We're still hoping that he will figure out what exactly is occurring in the situation. But yeah, these incidents have definitely rocked South Africa, especially on social media platforms. We've seen a lot of outrage of people being concerned and saying like, how have people acquired assault rifles and then enter a public place where people are meant to socialize and completely just fire at everything and everyone. Alex, I'll come to you. What do you think about these mass shootings that have occurred? And is it an indication that South Africa is sliding into further lawlessness in this country?
Absolutely. I think you've nailed it on the head there, Sholin. I think, yeah, there seems to be a growing trend of obviously of what happened with Nyobeni, where it just seems like, if someone goes out to have a good time, you don't know if they're going to come back. So it's a pretty frightening thing. I think, like you said, you mentioned how we're not entirely sure what the motive is behind this. If kind of it being gang related would almost make sense in a way. But no matter what the cause is, it's still pretty scary stuff. And obviously we know of mass shootings. We kind of associate them with schools and stuff in America. And there's a lot of outrage that happens around that. And we've had quite a few mass shootings in the last couple of years, particularly in townships. So it's a growing trend and it's worrying. And I think the problem is it seems we know that, the police force is understaffed, it's underfunded by the police's own admission. So, yeah, I mean, we have to return to ourselves to protect ourselves. It's a pretty desperate situation, unfortunately. Charlie, we've just lost your audio, my friend.
Yeah, sorry. It's just weird that some people actually think that, we should be taking away more guns from legal, law-abiding citizens when clearly there's not even enough police men and women to actually protect us from incidents like this. So, Chris, what do you think? What do you think about the situation? Yeah.
I was gonna say that we shouldn't. There are families that are hit by these tragedies, and we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that these families will lose breadwinners and lose their. I mean, it's seriously a big problem in South Africa, and if we don't fix the problem, fix the police, and allow them to sort of get more people and train more people, then we're going to keep seeing problems like these and situations like these, mass killings, and just going to get worse from here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is definitely concerning. And I actually wanted to also ask you guys, like, do you also think, since you mentioned now, Chris, that there is a family aspect to this? Like, we cannot forget that each person that was murdered in the situation. All of them have dependents and family. There are somebody's son or somebody's daughter, somebody's father by any chance. And the incident even that recently occurred with children being found in a tavern late at night actually just speaks down to the greater problem I actually think that we do have regarding the breakdown of families in this country. We know that this has been an ongoing situation in South Africa, especially where poorer communities are tend to be affected the most by an issue regarding this. Alex, do you think that yeah, obviously everybody's affected by this, but do families and parents, neighbors also have a responsibility to be, you know what, I'm going to take care of you as a fellow citizen, as a fellow community member, the same way I would want you to protect and serve me in a situation like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, yeah. I mean, one thing we could do is sort of scale up sort of community policing, which is like an organization like Action Society, which trains people, and I'm sure there's tons of organizations who do that. But I think that's kind of as far as it can go. But I think what's happening is we're really seeing people having to rely on their own communities to protect themselves. And I think it's been like this for quite a while. And obviously those who can afford it, outsource their safety to private security companies. But it's such a good point about the breaking down of families. But I think there's only I mean, your life is just kind of put on hold by this kind of thing. When you have to rely also dedicate so much resources to safety and security, where you could be just getting ahead and getting your own family on the right track and lifting them into prosperity. So it's kind of it's a difficult situation, and look what we're up against. I mean, there's rumors of more riots a year on from the previous riot. So yeah, it's really tough out there. So I think also just kudos to all those who are involved in community policing and forums and those kind of things.
Yes, no, for sure. We cannot neglect the importance that safety and security plays in not only in the development of an individual, but also of a community, of a city, and then also a country, a nation that is South Africa. And just immediately thought of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. For those of you guys who are familiar with it, is that the foundational building blocks for any human life is based on the safety and security that they can actually then thrive and actually live be above and beyond themselves and reach out to other people then, and that is absolutely crucial. You're correct right there, Alex. And something that we are also experiencing in this country, especially when things such as our safety and security is being heavily neglected, is that what we are seeing is that many South Africans are now moving abroad and taking away the skills and crucial productivity that they have contributed towards this country with them because of many reasons that is actually highlighted in this article by Business Tech. And some of the reasons that people have cited as essentially leaving is due to South Africa's high taxation, that especially on income that we have to pay. Business Tech in this article, they do mention that some of it include high levels of taxation, or low quality of education, the lack of personal safety, and the low quality of health services within the country, especially from public, hospitals and medical facilities as well. Alex, can I come to you and just ask you, what are your thoughts surrounding this issue? And especially since we see that, we cannot have this brain drain of people leaving the country where there are better opportunities in other countries where their skills are appreciated and where the government is actually, creating opportunities for them, something that is lacking here in South Africa.
I think the one important thing is that I understand how high taxation rates can be a massive turnoff for businesses, and I think the problem that the government doesn't understand is that we actually do play in a global market, and South Africa is very far at the bottom of Africa, and there are a lot of other options with even in there's Mauritius. I think was cited in the article as having very low taxation, corporate tax rates, but that kind of stuff. But I think the major problem is that I get the sense that there's a major feeling of taxes just not working for you. This kind of like citizen abuse where your taxes just get blown out of the water and they don't go to actually helping you or your community, like with policing. And I think there's such disillusionment around people. And the thing is, yeah, to quote Lil Wayne, you only live once, so you're not going to stick around. And where you constantly worrying about your safety and your security, like you said, like the most foundational aspect of your sort of your being. So something's got to give, and people who have options take them. So it's something. It's kind of the logical conclusion of a failing state, right? So I think that's and with the load shedding that we're seeing now, and people getting traumatic flashbacks to to the riots last year. I mean, it all it's bound to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, Chris, let me know what do you think are some of these things that we can begin getting right to actually, keep some of our professionals and some of the people that we obviously need to function properly, because something we even see news with Eskom is that because of the corruption, the bad management occurring over there, many people have decided to leave Eskom. One of the major executives have just left, and that is a rather concerning thing when, as Alex mentions, the taxes that we do pay do not effectively translate into proper public services. But yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts surrounding that?
I think it starts with proper service delivery, because if you're not getting your services, you don't feel valued. So that sense of value, you need that sense of value to sort of say, I'm going to now contribute to the economy by working, and my tax money is going to government. Ask yourself, am I sure that this government will provide services for me that do give me back the value that I put in? And if it's not, then immigration will be a thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, for sure, Chris. I definitely agree with you, and I have to note that something that I just thought I'd note here is that in this article by Business Tech, many of the countries, including I'm just going to list them, countries that are taking the majority of skilled South Africans away, include Canada, the United States, Australia, Germany, the United Kingdom, Japan, Singapore. These are countries that are really attractive to many people who are engaging in the free market. And something you can list, a lot of people might have a lot of opinions about this is wrong with this country, that's wrong with this country, but at its foundation, there's a common occurrence with many of these countries. They are free market democracies that respect civil liberties and people's economic freedom, and that is definitely no mistake. Alex, can I just get your last thoughts on this, especially because we do not see a lot of people are running to go and live in Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Cuba, or North Korea. What are your thoughts surrounding that?
No, exactly. I mean, the thing is, like with you've nailed it. With people where economies are free and people have safety and security, and the government doesn't meddle in their affairs and doesn't tax them into oblivion, you get more prosperous people, prosperous nations. And I think it's something important to just remember. And that's that there's a reason people go to these countries, and that's where South Africa should be looking towards. I think the problem now is like we've just got such a navel-gazing ANC at the moment that, you know, they, aside from looking at themselves and filling their pockets, they don't really care what happens with the country. But that's the thing. Success is out there. We can emulate it. We've just got to get some rotten cadres out of the system, and then I think we'll be on the right track.
Yes, sir, absolutely, Alex. That's perfectly said. And we are going to end this week's episode of Freedom Fanatics right there. But stay with us as we're going to join Bali for a segment of burning questions. We have a liquor and exciting conversation ahead for you guys. So stay right here and see you guys at Burning Questions.
Hi guys.
How's it?
Good. Hi Sholin. Hi Chris.
Hello.
Hi Alex. Welcome to Burning Questions. Guys, for today we are looking at an article from our beloved Tariq Khan. And yeah, guys, if you're looking to read any of our articles, just go check them out on freedomadvocacy.net. We write cool stuff, and yeah, we bash the government a lot. So, guys, this article, oh well, am I allowed to say that? Do we actually?
This is a safe space.
Wow. Thank you, fam. Thank you. So guys, this article basically ties in with what Sholin and Alex and Chris were talking about, which is Eskom and how it's actually a failed thing. Let's call it a thing. I don't think we have to call it another thing. So guys, let's go straight into the comments. And yeah, so the first comment is compelling reasons for privatization. Sadly, the government won't let any of the SOEs go as they are its cash cow via corruption. Alex, do you think privatizing Eskom will work for South Africa?
I think it could certainly help, or certainly just opening up the market to independent power producers would definitely be a massive start. Also, letting municipalities and provincial governments produce their own power, you know, giving it a little bit more of a federal mandate to power production. But Debbie's nailed it there. I think. Well, I mean, it's just does the private sector perform better than the public? I think a good example of where I think the private sector can step in where the state fails for sure. Like we were chatting about safety and security, you know, look at how many private security companies and policing forums there are compared to the number of police officers and the struggles facing the police service. So I don't think there's any reason that power generation should be any different.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I hear you. Next comment is from Jackie, and he, she, or they rather. Let me not be that person. And they say, I honestly don't know and always wonder what makes this Andre de Ruyter so headstrong and so determined that he can turn this around. I honestly wish that I had his courage. Sholin, do you wish that you had his courage as well?
Yeah, something that's definitely admirable about Andre de Ruyter is his unwavering ability to call out the corruption and mess. As a CEO of his own organization, Eskom, he has exposed a lot of major corruption happening with corrupting the contracts and so forth. And many people will at times even get assassinated for saying things, exposing things like this. and it's no joke. We've seen many people having to, leave the country to for their lives when they came to state capture, exposing state capture secrets. Here, this man is CEO, and he's calling out everyone that is doing the things illegally. But I will
During the
also
week.
say, to proceed with caution, is that yes, thus far under the radar has been admirable. But eventually, people will, if the people do not see results, people will start calling him out and saying like, you've been in
Yes.
charge of ESCOM for this period of time, and still we have blackouts. Clearly, there must be a problem here.
Yeah.
So my thing to him would definitely be is his courage should not only be filled with words, but it needs to be followed by actions. And once we see actions, I think then we can definitely start applauding him for the results that we then see with our electricity being available at all times. Yeah, Mbali.
Yeah, definitely. I back him. I believe in him. Maybe let's go to the next comment. This one is a little bit, but you know what? Let me read it. Van Rain or Bell. I don't know. Sholin, this is where you help me.
Yeah,
Did
that
I
was
say
good,
that?
Mbali.
Cool. And he says, fortunately, apartheid is there to be blamed. How convenient. I think he is being sarcastic. To a certain extent, can we blame apartheid? Because I think we have spoken about how ESCOM used to be in the apartheid era. I honestly just think in this comment it's just being sarcastic. Anyone want to respond to it? Chris, if you
Yeah,
want to, or Sholin?
yeah,
Me,
no, for sure.
I'd say that
Yeah,
tell them
Chris?
go ahead, it's fine.
Oh, okay, yeah. So what I was about to say was that it is apartheid is always a convenient villain for these politicians, leaders who are unable to provide us with any results right now,
Bro,
and they
like
have
Beggy Tsele saying that he was in flippant Robben Island and his mom was
yeah,
a kitchen girl and his
exactly.
father was a parent boy. My guy.
Yeah, exactly, Mbali. That's exactly on point. It's like, guys, we absolutely understand that there was major suffering in this country, that there was major injustices done to many people of color in this country. Absolutely. But my
Yeah.
guy, it's 30 years later. Many of these leaders and politicians have had 30 years do you know what, fix things and turn things around in a major way. But instead, what we are seeing is that they are lining their own pockets and filling their own trust funds for themselves and their children's children one day. That's literally all they're caring about right now.
Yeah.
Is to take as much money as they possibly can, and they will literally still turn around, be implicated in corruption, and still tell us
Bro.
the white man is trying to bring them down. I'm like, what? Let me out
How,
the school.
Sway?
It's that
How?
simple.
Like, make it make sense. The next comment, which is I don't know how you guys will feel about this. Juma K, can't pronounce that. I'm sorry, Juma. Love you loads though. The problem is foreigners. Chris, it's a simple, straightforward comment. He says
No. Way off.
Oh hell no.
It's way off.
Ain't no way, boy. But it's people like
I don't think I
this
can
that
say anything more than that. Just no.
literally. But maybe he can just say, ESCOM has maybe they're getting a lot of pressure because not all foreigners, but people from like Nigeria, people from Zimbabwe, I think those are the two main countries. I think there is more, but two major ones that flood into SA. And they might say that if we didn't have a lot of foreigners, ESCOM would be able to supply everyone with electricity. Maybe that's where he would come from. Yes, Sholin.
Yeah, no, definitely, Mbali. I get your point that you asked that you're making there. It's for sure that is a good a good way of looking at it, because we must also understand, and Diego mentioned this a while back, that during apartheid, the main people that were the apartheid government was aiming to actually provide electricity services for was the white population, which is a minority in South Africa. And now when you have a situation where there is now a broader population of right now approximately like 60 million, 50 million people that need electricity, that is a lot of constraint that is placed on the grid, on the electricity grid of South Africa. But then again, I just come back to the point that Alex made. Then if there are so many people, you know what can actually help with the consumption of electricity generation in this country is not depending on one state-owned entity, aka ESCOM. Let everybody have the ability to generate their own electricity. Have ESCOM there to provide for the poorest of the poor. And that is the way that we can actually, have a what is this? An abundance of electricity in this country. Because then eventually we can even use that to sell to other countries. I'm like, this is simple thinking, and it's such an easy thought, but they would not go this direction because it does not benefit the cadres of the ANC. So that's why they wouldn't do it.
Yes, Chris?
The National Planning Commission recently proposed that the government get rid of the limits on private power production. So it's currently standing at 100 megawatts, and they propose that the government get rid of it completely. And I think that's a good thingy, because a good plan, because all this restrictions on the amount of electricity that can be privately produced is just ridiculous, because you're never going to solve a problem if you keep restricting it. And yeah.
True, Chris, definitely. The next one, I think the next and the last one, is from Edward. And Edward says, Cyril is the rotten apple here. If Cyril gets kicked out, you will have no more load shedding. I don't know about that. He's eating from the gravy train slowly but surely. Okay, Cyril is the rotten apple. When he goes, we'll not have load shedding anymore. Alex, true or false? That's a trick question.
I love that he's eating that gravy train, man. That is such a great sight. But unfortunately, he's making more gravy for the train. Unfortunately, but no, I mean, I think you wouldn't solve load shedding overnight by simply getting rid of Cyril or firing Derator or any of these people. But I think what would help a hell of a lot is to replace a leader with somebody who actually has a bit of a backbone.
But we replaced Zuma with Cyril, and things got worse. I don't think we're at stage 6 during JZ.
I think things have just gotten so progressively worse since then, and that kind of, nothing's really changed. I mean, there's still people who are employed at ESCOM who shouldn't be there. There's brain drain at ESCOM. People took voluntary severance packages. Now, I think it was this week, Chris might be able to correct me, that they're considering the legalities around hiring like people with critical skills basically for the power stations. Chris, I don't know if that is the case.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So I mean, I think changing the leadership. If you get Cyril out, because he's the head of the ANC. The ANC is the problem. So if you get rid of him, the fish rots at the head. So I agree with Edward. Spot on. Let's do that.
Okay, guys, and the last comment says, thanks, ANC. That is a sarcastic one, guys. Trust me, I know. They told me. Just in case people think that we're praising the ANC, no ways. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Burning Questions. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms at Badger of Liberty. And remember, your freedom is worth fighting for. Yeah. I'm just trying to also believe that myself.